Let's take a break from the diamond and shine on football now. We're going camping on Schein Time. And we begin with Cam Scatterbo, who is backtracking on his backflipping.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I do some dumb things here and there, but I learned from it. My coach talked to me, told me how he felt, and I learned from it. And will I go do that backflip again? Probably not. So, we live and we learn, and, we move on.
This right here is the soundbites of the summer from any single football camp thus far. And if you're a fan of the New York Football Giants and you hear that, you should be absolutely jumping for joy. Look, we said it at the time. Scatterbo, coming off of an injury, doing a backflip at Fanatics Fest is the theater of the absurd. Amateur hour. This can't happen. And he stumbles? That's nightmare fuel. If you're the Giants, if you're a Giants fan, if you're John Harbaugh. And that soundbite tells you all you need to know. These are John Harbaugh's Giants. These are not Brian Daboll's Giants or Pat Shurmur's Giants or Joe Judge's Giants. Finally, a real head coach coaching the New York Football Giants. And when Harbaugh said at the time, talking to Carl Banks and Bob Papa on their incredible podcast, that, it was something where he kind of sternly said, I want him to stick to landing. We made a big deal about it at the time here on Schein Time, because that was Harbaugh's way of saying, I will handle this internally. There's no way that John Harbaugh saw one of his injured players who's important to the success of this team. And if you're Scatterbo, you have to be absolutely out of your mind, understanding you're coming off an injury. You still have Tracy. You still have Singletary. You've got a coach who's all ball all the time. Harbaugh must have been flipping out watching Scatterbo flipping around at Fanatics Fest, coming off of an injury, as dumb as it gets. So Scatterbo, by the way, I loved him in college, thought he was tough and he was aggressive, even though he got hurt last year. Right now, he is known for being Jackson Dart's best friend. He needs to really get on track for his NFL career. We're not talking about a signature running back in any way, shape, or form. We're talking about a complementary player who has the ability to do more, but he has to be smart. He has to be available. Jackson Darts, I think, is going to be a big key to this. Jackson Darts at his availability, and Jackson Dart being coached by Harbaugh, and Jackson Dart is Scatterbo's best friend. I want to see Darts in addition. They can't just be bros together, Scatterbo and Darts. Dart needs to take on a leadership role here and follow along with Harbaugh and tell Cam Scatterbo, you need to get in line. This is not about, social media. This is not about theatrics. It's about winning football games. So that soundbite was awesome with Scatterbo. And I'll tell you, everything that I'm seeing, everything I'm hearing on Malik Neighbors is off the charts. And I think it's kind of funny, right? The benefit of the late start for the NFL season this year. Every time I read Paul Schwartz in the New York Post, every time I see Paul do something here on the YouTube page for the New York Post with Brandon London, I get more energized by the minutes when it comes to Malik Neighbors being ready to be out there. Every soundbite from Joe Schein, every soundbite from Coach Harbaugh makes you think that Malik Neighbors is on track. And look, we've given you the schedule before here on Schein Time. I think the Giants are going to start the season 4-2. I think they could lose the first 2 games of the season and rattle off the next 4. So Neighbors being healthy, big picture, is everything. Look, if he's not healthy for the Dallas game, they can't beat the Dallas Cowboys. Simple as that. If he is healthy, they're going to have a real shot. So there are so many great signs and examples here of this camp being all about John Harbaugh and his stamp and his imprint on the New York Football Giants, and why this appointment and this hire was everything for Dart, for Scatterbo, for Neighbors, for Abdul Carter, for the young Giants, for Giants fans. We're raising the bar on everything. That's the genius of John Harbaugh. 8 to 10 wins, being in contention. And listen, Scatterbo's got a lot of upside. Giants have not only been bad for a long time, they've been boring. aesthetically unappealing, just an eyesore of a team to watch. Scadaboo needs to focus, and I loved every single second of that soundbite. No more backflips, and if he does it again, you could bet your bottom dollar Harbaugh is going to flip out. In 49ers camp, whoo, baby, this is a fun sight. How cool is it to see Deebo Samuel back in San Francisco running routes next to new Niner Mike Evans? This is, in fact, great stuff, especially on the heels of the brutal news that Ricky Pearsall, the young, talented receiver, season-ending PCL surgery. That's rough. And thankfully for San Francisco and for Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, Deebo Samuel was available, which I couldn't believe as a street free agent. Deebo should have never left in the first place. Deebo, look, if you want to even say he's not the player that he was during his salad days in San Francisco, I think Deebo Samuel is going to have an impactful season. Should have never left in the first place. They should have paid him instead of Brandon Ayuk. That was the first guesses on my part. Deebo running the football, catching it. He can play every different receiver position. He's such a fun guy, team leader, wants to win. He has an attitude and a swagger that I know everybody in San Francisco really loves and appreciates. And if you're Brock Purdy, this is such a win. Brock Purdy has loved Deebo Samuel for a long time. And I just think that anything, especially with this brutal news about Pearsall, that helps out Brock Purdy, especially with Kyle Shanahan still not coaching the team after the car accident and the concussion. This is such a mental and physical win for Brock Purdy. Niners, it's a weird time to kind of figure them out, right? And I'm a big Brock Purdy fan. I'm a big Deebo Samuel fan. In theory, they're better on defense with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa being healthy. Christian McCaffrey's unbelievable. I thought the Mike Evans signing was as amazing an offseason move as any team had during the month of March. As perfect as it gets in that initial first wave of free agency. In theory, the window should be wide open for San Francisco. The Shanahan complications, to me, narrows the gap a little bit. The Pearsall injury, not what you want, but Deebo Samuel is energizing for this fan base. And I wanted to see the Niners beat the Chiefs at one of these two Super Bowls that they played over the last 6 years, because they were better than Kansas City both years. Could have won if Jimmy G hit Emmanuel Sanders. Should have won the game that went to overtime. Oh, so close, yet so far. I don't think this team is ultimately going to win it this year. I think they're the second or third best team in their own division. But Deebo Samuel, on the heels of the brutal news about Ricky Pearsall, that's energizing. And Mike Evans, by all accounts, is turning heads. Brock Purdy loves him. Excellent, excellent stuff when you look at it with Deebo Samuel going back to San Francisco. To Texas, where a reunion is taking place that warrants us dusting off the old George Michael sports machine for this flashback.
With the first pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Jadeveon Clowney, defensive end, South Carolina.
You don't find a young man that big, that fast, that strong every day. He's a once every 15-year talent. He's the number one player. Houston has their work cut out for him, getting him in that 3-4, pairing him with J.J. Watt, and letting him go after Andrew Luck, because that's a task.
Who says you can't go home again? I mean, that's amazing, flashing back to that with Clowney drafted to go after Andrew Luck. Jadeveon Clowney signed by the Houston Texans, who drafted him number 1 overall. Remember, that was the Reggie Bush draft, where everyone and their mother, including mine, thought Bush was going to go number 1 in that draft, but instead he went number 2 to New Orleans. Clowney, look, didn't fully pan out first time around in Houston, but he's had a long career, constantly getting to the quarterback. Played last year with the Cowboys, had 8.5 sacks last year. And you think about the rich getting richer. I mean, my goodness, DeMeco Ryans' defense enters, to me, as the single best defense in the National Football League. DeMeco Ryans is an absolute gem. I think this defense is going to be the best in the NFL. Obviously, you think about the pass rush. Will Anderson is unbelievable. You think about Danielle Hunter, unbelievable. You think about our guy Stingley on the back end. This defense is locked and loaded. I am absolutely obsessed, and I think the Houston Texans are going to be off the charts on defense. Now they just need C.J. Stroud to be able to throw the forward pass. So much excitement in Rams camp with rumors of Aaron Donald's potential return and Myles Garrett's in the house, making hits like this one in practice last week. But that was last week. Garrett has missed the past 3 practices and will miss today's practice as well. And it's a sore back, right? I can't stress this enough, how smart this is and why the Rams, we say this all the time, best organization in the National Football League, and this is another example. Myles Garrett, you don't rush it with a back injury, and injury's probably strong. Soreness is what they're calling it. Myles Garrett shouldn't see the practice field again until he feels like he's limber and there's no pain and there's no soreness. He doesn't have to break a sweat to break through the offensive line week 1 against San Francisco and sack Brock Purdy 3 times on opening night for the Rams and the Niners when they're playing overseas on the first Thursday of the NFL season. Myles Garrett could just take his time and chill out, wait for Aaron Donald to sign his contract. And remember, by the way, last year at this time, remember who had a back injury and wasn't practicing? Matthew Stafford. So it doesn't matter. Sean McVay knows exactly what he's doing. And when McVay talked to the press about this, it was so vital and so important, and the way that everything is just relayed in terms of the organization and everyone's on the same page, from ownership to the team president to the general manager to the head coach to the defensive coordinator. It's just incredible. And by the way, you want some Rams eye candy? How about Davante Adams, who is in year 13 in the National Football League, and he's still doing ridiculously amazing things. It's absolutely incredible to watch. And, I mean, look at this. I mean, you want some fun football practice material to start get you going if you're an NFL fan, if you start prepping for your fantasy draft, if you're a Rams fan thinking this is going to be the year, that's great stuff. And Davante Adams, I don't care what year he's in the National Football League, still one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's as great as it gets as number 2 receiver in the NFL, especially how he and Puka Nacua complement each other. Watching Stafford throwing darts in the month of August. Thing of beauty if you're a fan of the LA Rams. The Chiefs camp, and I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now, Chiefs are healthy, be wary. And Andy Reid has some positive feelings on the health of his most important player, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, listen, he's doing a great job. He's really doing everything that he normally does and doing it well. So we're happy with that. We know he's still progressing through it, but he sure looks sharp out here.
Well, he looks sharp. I want you guys to take a look at this play, right? I mean, it's always fun when you could find an example of Patrick Mahomes doing some weird and wild and wacky things. So he drops back to pass, surveys the scene. Oh, my goodness. Looks like our senior associate producer, Tommy Cohen, when he was at Sag Harbor this weekend, playing a little football on the beach. I mean, show that one more time if we can, guys. Man, anytime you can see Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball right into his center, I mean, my goodness. Looks like our guy Tommy. I mean, that's unreal. And it's okay showing this video and having some fun and some yucks with it, because all you need to know is exactly what Andy Reid told the great Dan Graziano over at ESPN. He's healthy. Practicing 100% fully. No rest, no rep issue, nothing in terms of what happened with the injury last year. And listen, obviously this is a Chiefs team that is in some kind of transition. Of course, you know, you look at the defense and they've done some different things, and McDuffie gets traded to the Rams and they draft a big-time corner. They signed Kenneth Walker, who I love. You know, Travis Kelce, I don't know if you know this, he got married in the offseason. Might have heard that. He doesn't necessarily look quite yet like he's in football Hall of Fame shape. It doesn't matter. If Patrick Mahomes is healthy, then Patrick Mahomes is ready to rock and roll. Kansas City Chiefs are going to be absolutely in the conversation for everything. Listen, we can nitpick the back end of the defense, nitpick the pass rush, nitpick Kelsey's Wade, nitpick the depth and the availability at wide receiver. Mahomes is healthy? That's all I need to know here when you take a look at it for the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't look now. Travis Hunter is back on the field. Both sides of the field, that is. I got to tell you something. This is as important and as fun a storyline in training camp as you could have. First of all, Travis Hunter did an interview on the NFL Network with our good friend, the great Judy Batista, this weekend. And I'm watching it, and Judy asked the best questions in the business. And Hunter's answers, I'm sitting there pumping my fist every single time he spoke. Travis Hunter's rookie season was a waste. There's no other way to phrase it. I mean, I don't want to spin it any other way. He's supposed to be the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL. I mean, not even close. He was the Anthony Volpe of the National Football League. Travis Hunter, to me, is as important a player as any in the AFC. I think, in theory, the Jacksonville Jaguars should be in the conversation for everything when you start talking about teams that can go to the Super Bowl this year. The fact that he's catching passes from Trevor Lawrence, good. He should. He has to. This is why they gave up all those picks, including this year's first, to move up in the draft and get him. Travis Hunter on defense? Yes, we need to see it. He needs to make plays, needs to make splash plays, needs to impact the Jaguars' really strong defense, needs to create turnovers. I think this is huge. Look, Liam Cohen joked over the weekend that he likes flying under the radar, and, he could see a million different, clips on social media and on YouTube and on television about Caleb Williams this and, big market teams that. There are expectations for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Jacksonville cannot run away from them. Not that Cohen's trying to. Travis Hunter is supposed to be a marquee guy, center stage kind of guy. Played for Dion in Colorado, could play offense, play defense. Nondescript, worthless, completely irrelevant rookie season. Hunter being dominant on both sides of the ball, that's fun. And it also can't just be a nice little cute camp story. That needs to be the norm when the Jacksonville Jaguars start shooting for the moon this upcoming season.